This video is here to explain how villas in the UAE are constructed and what to look out for after the villa is completed to make it more of a home rather than just a house. It is extremely important to understand how a villa is actually built from the ground up here in the UAE. And for this video, I've asked my really good friend Marcus, who is the owner of a construction company called Contemporary Living here in Dubai. One of the key concepts that me and Marcus have been speaking about regularly for years is the 80-10-10 concept. And Marcus will explain what that means now.
Sure. So when we say 80-10-10, we're splitting the phase of a completed project, whether it's a townhouse, whether it's an independent villa or a tower of apartments. Now, 80% of what you don't see is all behind the walls, and that includes your foundations, your substructure, your concrete columns, your slabs, whether it's different types of slabs. This all accounts for 80% of what you do not see. If you have a villa that's handed over, it has been through DM's inspections. It's been through multiple site inspections from the community, from building control. So 80% of this project, if it hands over, you know it's perfectly fine. Now, the difference comes in the final 20%. And we split it up from 10 and 10 for a reason. The first 10 is your MEP, and that consists of your electrical, your plumbing, your drainage, your AC, all the sort of infrastructure that allows you to turn your lights on, allows you to flush your toilet. So in terms of developers that have a better reputation in the market, they will be using products that are widely tested around the world, not just buying it on price. They're heavily tested before we close up all the walls. ACs are tested. They're using branded appliances in terms of the AC machines themselves. Now, these things are critical when it comes to the final 10%. And when we say the final 10%, we're talking about the tile selection, the country of origin where the tiles are coming from, the sanitary fixtures, the fixture and fittings in terms of the joinery, how your kitchen opens. These are the final 10% that will be the difference between a 15 million dirham villa in the same street community and a 20 million dirham villa. So that's why it's so critical in investing in the correct developer who has got a track record for using the best materials in the market.
Now, understanding this 80-10-10 concept is extremely important when you're considering buying an off-plan villa or townhouse. And it's important to understand that these developers are delivering villas and townhouses at scale. So you have to remember that 80%, obviously, as we mentioned, is always going to be standard across any community. The 10%, as long as you're picking the right developer, is going to be delivered to a good standard. But that final 10% to do with the finishings is really delivered as a blank canvas and really a neutral design to allow people to enter those villa markets and renovate them to their own standards. So Marcus regularly goes into communities which have just handed over, and there is a common trend across all of these new handover communities that he sees.
Ultimately, when you get a handover community, no matter whichever community it is in Dubai, 9 times out of 10, you'll be handed a plot with sand. Now, this is just natural desert sand. Now, there are limitations. If you buy into a certain community, you can do certain things to that property. You can't do everything you want. You can't turn a traditional style into a modern Miami style because you bought into that community, which is one thing to consider. But what you can do and what you can control is the landscape itself. You can put a swimming pool in. You can do an outdoor barbecue. You can do a sunken seating area if you wanted to with a waterfall. You can incorporate whatever you want pretty much within reason into the landscape at your own say without the developer having a say in that. Whereas the villa, they have a say in whatever works you do to the villa after you've purchased it.
Now, when it comes to the villa itself, you cannot change anything externally. As Marcus said, the external aesthetics have to match the community's aesthetics. Nevertheless, inside the villa, you are free to change the villa interiors as long as you're not knocking over any structural walls.
So in terms of structural walls in Dubai, it's all concrete built out of, with block work in between to form your windows, your doors, your openings. You are not allowed to move any structural walls on interior of the building. Now, this may give you restrictions in terms of you might want to fully open plan it, but you can't because you have certain limitations. So understanding the floor plans when you come to purchase it might give you a better understanding what you'd like to do once you reach handover and become to design it.
Now, as you probably noticed, we're not in the normal place where we do these videos. We're actually in one of Marcus's renovated villas. This is slightly different to the concept that we've been explaining today, where we talk about a new off-plan villa being delivered and then being renovated afterwards to your taste or to resell later. We're actually in a 20-year-old villa in the Springs, which is an old Emaar community just opposite the Palm Jumeirah in an area called Emirates Living, essentially. These are a collection of townhouses. Marcus has actually bought this villa and renovated it, and he's going to show us what you can do in the final 10% to really achieve a higher purchase price later.
So what we have here, leaning on the fact what we spoke about earlier, is the final 10% and why it's so important. Now, the final 10% is so critical because for the same price as you will get buying something, you can completely pick the materials yourself. And this is where we go into fine detail and picking materials like having natural materials. We brought in sandstone from Croatia. The limestone comes from natural quarries in Turkey. We're using raw materials from around the world that makes the final 10% from this project very different to the final 10% from an off-plan unit. Look at the opportunity we can do. By the use of greenery, with trees, with plants, with grass. We've even imported sand here to create something completely unique and one of one. We have the use of the water features. We have a fully functioning built-in barbecue, outdoor fridge and sink, so you can fully cater outside. On the upper level, we've got the 6-seater dining facility where you have multiple spaces where you can utilize it because of the design we've considered. We've got the simple lounge area, the dining facility, and we have the sun lounges at the back. So a really good example, which I can explain to you while I'm stood in this exact moment. A lot of people in Dubai say travertine. The word travertine is used a lot right now. A lot of bathrooms are travertine styled, but when we talk about travertine, we mean a raw material. If you look at the two examples here, this is travertine porcelain, which most of the projects will have here in Dubai because it's easily accessible and it's relatively cheap to purchase. Whereas you look at the steps right next to us over here, this is a natural material of travertine. And we've utilized this in a few areas just to give it a bit of a difference in materials. So when we talk about sand in a villa, this is not the type of sand that you'll be getting straight from an off-plan villa. So this type of sand is silica sand. It's purchased, it's a synthetic natural sand. So it's a part synthetic, part natural, and it's really, really dense. So when you talk using it in a villa, your kids can play on it and it won't carry it into the villa. So the main difference from buying a standard unit versus something that you can fully tailor yourself is the space planning. Now, when we actually designed this villa and actually built it, the two designs were clashing with each other. From what we built on paper versus what we got the finished product was different. Because when you physically are inside the villa, you can understand things in a different way. We changed this whole worktop, this island about 3 times because we were just not happy with the final position. It allowed us to have the wine fridge completely not clashing with the built-in dishwasher, making sure this space here is perfect space so you can walk past it while someone's doing their cooking. These sort of decisions are very hard to make on paper when you have a standard unit. So when you buy something, you can completely tailor it for your own sort of ability and your own sort of family needs. Another main key reason why we like to do things ourselves and why you should tailor everything is the appliance choice. When you buy a standard unit, yes, you can change the appliances, but 9 times out of 10, most appliance brands these days are all different sizes. We have managed to put in a lot of appliances in here due to what we wanted. We've got the Kuka boiling water tap. We've gone for the Siemens appliances and all of the built-in appliances that we could ever need. So it really gives us that level of detail to be able to go through the whole kitchen and kind of customize it to what we wanted and our end users wanted as well. When we talk about the difference from a standard unit versus something you can remodel, one of the biggest differences is the built-up area. So when you buy a unit that you want to remodel yourself, you have the opportunity to extend the built-up area, which is essentially doing an extension. So we've taken this balcony, which was on the master bedroom, utilized it and built this really, really nice double ensuite bathroom with so many features. It manages to make this sort of villa a very, very unique one of one in the community just by doing this small change. These are the things you can kind of consider when you're looking to make things unique and purchase a property that you want to remodel yourself. We have a lot of unique features in here. Prime example, we managed to throw in a spinning TV unit, which just won't come as standard. But this is all tied into the whole joinery pack. So it's fitted well, it suits the property. And again, it just makes the whole experience of this villa very different to a standard unit. So one of the key features that we do speak about, and that is definitely a higher requirement these days, is the home automation. So here we've got a automation system which controls all the lights, all the blinds. These switches are fully customizable. We can connect it through the mobile phone, specific timers, you can have different switches do different things. It's fully customizable to your needs. And when we talk about the AC, we've got the Google Nest, which worldwide is a very popular device, but it does allow you to have something very approachable, very easy to control when you're out the house, when you're in your house, and it's just something you will not get on a standard unit these days.
For any investors who are watching this video, it's important that renovations can really affect the resale value. You can get two identical villas on the same street, one being renovated and one not being renovated, or as we may say, standard, and the purchase price between the two being as big as 5 to 10 million dirhams for the same floor plan and the same position within that community. Now to summarize, the reason why I've decided to put this video together is, as you might know on the channel, I regularly do advocate an off-plan villa as opposed to a ready villa if you have the privilege of time, just simply because you're getting so much more value for money in a brand new community. Nevertheless, you have to remember that these villas are being delivered at scale, where we know for a fact the first 80% and the first 10%, as we mentioned, is all going to be delivered the same. And with that as well, the final 10% across all of these villas are also going to be delivered to a good standard, but also the same. So I would really advise for any investor who is looking to hold a villa for the long term to consider renovating the villa to not only make the house a home, but also from a route to potentially flip it later. In Dubai, the community is actually the most important aspect to reselling a villa in today's market. You cannot control the outside of your villa, what amenities are going on, what the master developer is bringing to that community, but what you can control is the actual finishing. So when assessing villa communities in Dubai, try not to focus too much on the quality. Always understand that it is going to be a blank canvas to a good enough standard being delivered, but really turning it from a house to a home is really your decision after it's handed over. But really try and focus on what that developer has done in the past in terms of a community and what community benefits they're bringing to that villa in the long run into that specific community.
Before making your purchase, and if you do intend to make changes to the layout, or you want additional works, or slightly just tweak a few things to make it different, I'd highly recommend reaching out to a contractor in the community, whether it's myself, whether it's another contractor, someone you're familiar with, someone who's had a referral, anyone. Unfortunately, some agents will advise you that you can do things because they've been in the market for a while, but not necessarily they know for a fact you can do things. Developers, the government, they change stuff on a weekly basis here in Dubai. It's a nightmare to keep up with, but it is what it is. So speak to the contractors who are genuinely dealing with the government on a day-to-day basis. They're up to date with the regulations, up to date with the planning restrictions, and they can advise you best on what you can do before you make your investments.
If you're interested in reaching out to Marcus, his contact details are on the screen and also in the description. He is genuinely passionate about the job. He's been doing this job for about a decade now, and he has already helped investors, whether they're mine or others, take a house from a standard to an upgraded unit and make them a lot of money. He is all about making a house into a genuine home.